Okay, guys, welcome back. I'm going to show you how to create a calculator the quickest and dirtiest way possible using eval. So we're using the least amount of JavaScript, HTML, and CSS as possible, right? So this thing is cool because not only does it work as a normal calculator like this, let's say if you do some illegal operations like that, you'll say invalid. But the other cool thing is, since this is an input, you can also do any JavaScript expression, math.py. Right, cool. Okay, let's see how we can write this by ourselves. So right now in the CSS, I only have display flex column on the body. In the JavaScript, I just have two variables, board and the operations array. In HTML, you see that inside of our body, we have a section that has the clear button, the HR line, and the inputs, right? The only other element we have is ID board, and that's where all of the buttons will be generated in JavaScript. So let's do that. Now, in JavaScript, let's think about this. How many buttons do we need to generate? Well, a calculator has 10 buttons for 0 to 9, right? And then it has the plus, minus, multiply, and divide buttons, and the decimal button. Okay. Our equal button is already taken care of by me putting it in my HTML, like this. Okay, so we need 15. We can actually start with a regular for loop. Okay, so we're gonna go as long as I is less than 15, I plus plus. Now, every loop, we're going to create a new element, document.create element. I'll call this div. Okay. So after that, we can do btn.classlist.add. I'll give this class btn, and then btn.textContent. What should the text content be? This is the most important part. Text content means, hey, what value is the button going to show? Well, that's going to be dependent, right? I'll say from 0 to 9, the text content can just be the variable I that it's looping through. So let's do a ternary. If I is less than 10, it's be equal to I. But if not, it's going to be equal to let operations here, operations.shift, right? We're going to mutate this array, and by the end, it'll give us the answer that we're looking for. Okay, so we did all of that. We created a button, we added a class, we did the text content, then we need to get the board, and we need to append child the btn. Okay, so if we look at what we have so far, hey, it's kind of working, right? Let's make it look nicer in our CSS. So we have our board, and actually I'll just use display grid on here. And then let's select all of the board's children. So board, actually let's do div, so it's more readable. Okay, so this is display grid. So I'm gonna give this an outline, let's say 3px solid red. Let's give this a height, 3 rem, width, 3 rem, cool, right? Now, I want this to have 5 columns. That's why I did display grid. Let's do grid, template, columns, repeat, 5, 1fr. Cool. Let's do justify items, center, and then gap. Let's try 1.5 em. Okay, that looks pretty cool. Now, how did I get two borders? Well, you can do outline, and then you can also do border. So 3px solid gold. Let's try that. See, and then if you want, you can do border radius 50%. Now, the cool thing I want to show you is that, remember that this div is a grid child, right? Because its parent has display grid. But just because it's a grid child doesn't mean it cannot also be a grid parent. Right? So it itself can also have display grid. And then you can do place content center. And what does that do? It's going to center everything that you see here. Okay, let me change this to aqua. I don't like how the gold looks. Okay, cool. Right, and then we can add the hover state. Let's do background, tomato, and cursor, pointer. All right, looks cool, right? So that's pretty much it for our CSS. Let's go here. Now, how do we make the functionality work? Well, we can take advantage of event bubbling. What's that? Well, we can do something like document.body.onClick. So whenever you click anywhere on this document, this function is going to run. Let's test it first. Let's do the first if clause. So if e.target.id is equal to clear, so that's saying, hey, if they hit this clear button right here, the input should clear, right? So then you do input.value is now an empty string. And then to prevent this function from running anymore, you can throw in a return statement right here. So now let's test this. If I type in something and I press clear, it works, right? But if I press any of these, it's not working yet. Let's get that part working. Now on the second if, we can do if e.target.value is strictly equal to an equal sign, then what? Well, here is where we can do input.value is going to be equal to eval. So we're going to evaluate the string that they entered in, right? Input.value. Now, what happens if they click something else? Well, if they click any other button, we want that to be displayed here, right? So if they click 0, it should be here, plus, it should be here, and then 1 or whatever. So we can do else if e.target.className is strictly equal to btn, and that's why we gave it the btn class up here. So if it's that, then our input.value will be equal to itself plus the e.target.text content that we gave it. Okay, all right, so now if you do 1 plus 2 and you press here, you get 3. Cool, right? Now, what happens if you do, let's say, so let's clear, and then you try to do something illegal? We get an error? Yep. Now, how do we handle this error? Well, it's actually pretty easy. If you go inside of this second if right here, we can just put everything in a try and then a catch block. Okay. All right, so it's going to try this, right? And if that doesn't work, then let's do input. That value will be equal to invalid operation. And then let's do input dot style dot color will be equal to red, just so we know that we got an error, right? So now we have, let's try something illegal. We get invalid operation, right? We even get all the valid JavaScript operations. If we do 7 divided by 0, we get infinity as expected, right? If we do 0 divided by 0, we get nan as expected. Right? And remember, since this evaluates all JavaScript expressions, you can also do things like math.py, right? Dot to fixed 2. Let's see what we get. So we get 3.14. Cool, right? Now remember, don't use eval in your real projects because you can easily get hacked, right? Because this takes in any JavaScript expression. If I do alert, hacked, let's see what we get. Yep, see?